Hi, my name is Callista Chan, and today I will be talking about the South Korean film industry. Today we'll be discussing its history, present day, streaming sites, rating systems, and my concluding thoughts. In the history, scholars have debated and disagreed about the dating of the earliest film screenings in pre partition Korea. However, it's believed to have taken place between 1897 and 1899. The date of the first public screening of a movie has been highly debated, but it's believed to have taken place in Seoul in 1903. Although the exact movie screen was not documented, it was most likely a silent short film, probably imported from France or the United States. In 1907, the first cinema was established in Seoul. It was called the Dongsunsa Theater, also known as the Seoul Theater. Between 1909 and 1920, several theaters emerged in Seoul and regional cities like Busan and Pyongyang. However, most of the establishments were owned by Japanese entrepreneurs. But some Korean theater owners amassed a significant amount of money by screening foreign films from Europe and America, which would help fund the first Korean movie, Righteous Revenge. Righteous Revenge was directed by Kim Do-sun and premiered on October 27th, 1919, in the Dongsunsa Theater and is accredited as the first Korean film. According to Letterboxd, the story revolves around Song-san as he faces his stepmother and her accomplices threatening to take his father's inheritance. Song-san fights off the antagonist and finds peace for his family. The movie adopted the kino drama format and transported it to film, blending elements of live theater with motion pictures. The film was a hit from the day it premiered in 1919 and sold over 100,000 tickets. Moreover, it filled the theater from the upper floor to the lower in seconds. However, the film itself is lost alongside the majority of Korea's early films before 1934, which were lost due to neglect or destroyed by the Korean War. Only some promotional and material and still photographs remain. Aryang was directed by Na Eun-kyu, and it premiered in 1923. It's said to be Korea's first silent film. According to Letterboxd, the film concerns a student, Cho Young-jin, who has become mentally ill after being imprisoned and tortured by the Japanese for his involvement in the March 1st, 1919 protest against the Japanese colonial rule. The movie is believed to have marked the true start of South Korean cinema. Furthermore, the film it has been said to be the national film in Korean film industry and distinguish itself by portraying the social conditions of everyday life of Korea during the period of Japanese colonial rule, all the while capturing the sentiments and aspiration of its viewers. Cinema in Korea from 1926 to 1936 was a vibrant business. It showcased its own domestic films as well as foreign films imported from America, England, China, France, Germany, India, and Russia. During this time, Hollywood films dominated the Korean market. However, the government general crafted censorships for Korean cinema, which had heavily stunted its growth. All films, domestic and foreign, would have to be sent to the government censorship board for approval before it was screened. Additionally, police were present during the screening of movies. By 1930, Japanese censorship was stricter, and more melodramas, costume dramas, and pro Japanese films emerged. The censorship intended to hinder communist, revolutionary, and Western socialist ideals. And in the late 1930s, the Japanese Department of Home Affairs started to ban imported films from America. Moreover, the government general heightened its efforts to suppress Korean culture. Cheongyang, which was directed by Lee Myung-woo with the assistance of sound technician Lee Pil-woo, was premiered in 1935. It was also known as the first talkie film. It was produced by Jeongseong Productions. It had many issues, particularly the sound. It used sophisticated equipment like soundproof cameras, silent lights, and a studio that would control external noises. The sound quality was so poor because the crew did not know how to use the equipment, resulting in dubbing to record the sound in post productions. The movie was based off the famous Korean folktale, Chun Yang Ja. 2 years later, after the success of Drifted, which was directed by Lee Kyung Hwan, talkies became the norm. That same year, Japan invaded China, which resulted in more pressure to produce pro Japanese films. Korean speaking films were completely banned by 1942 by the government. After the liberation of Korea in 1945, there were only 5 films that survived between the US occupation of Korea and the end of the Korean War. Cha Yu Monse, which was directed by Choi Eun-ju, premiered in 1946. It had strong anti-Japanese sentiments and was a tribute to Korean patriotism. As well as it was well received by the public. As a result of the Korean War, majority of the country's film infrastructure suffered extensive damage, which prompted a temporary relocation of the industry's epicenter to Busan. During this time, most filmmakers shot more newsreels and war documentaries. After the Korean armistice, which was signed on July 27, 1952, President Ri Soon-man announced that the film industry was to be exempt of all taxes in an effort to rejuvenate the industry. It received aid from foreign countries, laying the groundwork for the rebirth of Korean cinema in the late 1950s and early 1960s. They provided them with the film equipment and technology that was needed. The late 1950s and early 1960s was known as the golden age for Korean cinema. This was where the industry faced a resurgence. The number of domestic production increased from 8 in 1954 to 108 in 1959. The public would also return to the theater. Most popular movies of that time were the 1955 version of Choyong Chon and Madam Freedom was premiered in 1956. 1962, the military dictator Park Jun Choo-hee instated the first motion picture law, which strengthened governmental control over the film industry. The law stated that Korean cinema had to contribute to promote national art by producing high quality movies. Film companies had to comply with specific criteria, including having a studio space of at least 790.8 square yards, sound recording facilities, and a minimum of 35 cameras. They would have to employ 2 full-time directors and have more than 2 actresses and actors under an exclusive contract. They were also to produce at least 15 films per year. The 1970s were a long period of increasing governmental control and declining admissions into cinema. Films lacked the artistic spirit that existed in the industry's beginnings. Moreover, they lacked Yushin ideology, as films were being regulated. Directors and producers realized in order to make successful films to ensure the survival of the industry, they would have to comply with the film policies. The industry experienced a relaxation of governmental regulations in the 1980s and would gain more recognition from international film communities. Am Kyun Tok became one of the most prevalent directors of his time and made over 70 features by 1980. He encapsulated the older and forgotten aspects of Korean culture. And Korean actress Kang Soo-yeon received recognition for her role in The Surrogate Woman at the 1987 Venice Film Festival for her role, and she won Best Actress. Following the reign of President Park Chung-hee, South Korea transitioned from a military rule to civilian government. President Roh Ta-woo held a part in loosening the restriction on freedom of expression, including the film industry. Directors like Park Kwon Soo took advantage of the East's censorship and incorporated imagery of a street protest in an iconic concluding scene in the movie Chil and Monsu, which premiered in 1988. However, the policies that lifted restrictions on imports allowed Hollywood production companies to set up base in Korea. So, domestic films would have to compete directly with Hollywood. This would affect the expenditure of domestic films with Korean cinema, making up only 16% of total attendance figures in 1993. Yet, 1992's Marriage Story included a new popular genre, sex comedy. Additionally, it introduced brands like Samsung into the film industry, who is still a ginormous name in Korean cinema. In the present day, films like Train to Busan and Parasite have proven themselves to be globally renowned. They have been nominated for the Academy Awards, BAFTA, Saturn Awards, and Critics' Choice Awards. Train to Busan, which premiered in 2016 and directed by Yong Sung-hoo, was one of the highest grossing Asian films of all time in Hong Kong. It made $8.52 million, topping the most successful Chinese film language film at the time, Cold War II. The movie was also popular in Malaysia and Singapore, making $4.84 million in Malaysia and $3.1 million in Singapore. The movie combined themes of a classic zombie thriller and traditional Korean culture. It did not sacrifice its own culture to ensure commercial success. It was first and foremost the movie's central theme. Train to Busan had 42 nominations in several different international film festivals, including a Saturn nomination for Best Horror Film, and 32 wins. Additionally, its actor Ma Dong-seok, who played Sang-hwa, has moved on to star in Marvel's 2021 Eternals as Gilgamesh. We can't talk about present day Korean cinema without talking about Parasite. It is one of Korea's best known movies, and it premiered at the 2019 Cannes Film Festival with an 8-minute standing ovation. It took home Cannes' highest awards, the Palme d'Or, and went on to have 265 nominations and 309 wins, including 3 Academy Awards, 1 Saturn Award, and 2 BAFTAs. It won Oscars for Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Achievement in Directing, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature Film. It was the first fully foreign language film to win the Best Picture and first to be awarded for Best Film and Best International Feature. The film's directors Bong Joon-ho's charismatic personality was one of the multitude of reasons the movie was a booming success. Furthermore, its success has been linked to the rise in popularity of K-pop. After its historical win at the Oscars in 2020, hashtag Parasite Made History trended all over social media. It also grossed a $167 million worldwide. During COVID 19, Netflix's 2021 Squid Games blew up all over the world. People raved about the show on social media, and many recorded themselves trying to recreate its iconic challenges on TikTok. Not only was this show created in Korea, but it was also backed by Netflix. It was one of the most watched shows in over 90 countries, and it has been at the top of Netflix's top 10 list in 94 countries. And it was the first Korean series to hit number 1 in the US. Moreover, it has been viewed by over 111 billion accounts since its debut. It even has its own reality game show spin-off called Squid Games: The Challenge. The show had 85 nominations and 47 wins. It won 6 Emmys, including a historic win for its star, Lee Jung-jae, who was the first Asian man to win the award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Popular streaming sites are Viki, Netflix, IQYI, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus, Asian Crush, and On Demand Korea. Because of its global phenomenon, Squid Games, Netflix invested $2.5 billion in producing various Korean content. Dong Kong, vice president of Korean content at Netflix, suggests that it sees the opportunities extending beyond the Asian region, and they want to produce nonfiction shows because of the demand from its Korean audiences. Kang also goes on to say, quote, when a show is loved by a Korean audience, it has a very, very high likelihood of being loved by audiences around the world, end quote. Korean filmmakers have the talent to encapsulate Korea's unique culture while also resonating emotionally with its global audience. Its rating system is based on themes of sex, nudity, violence, language, horror, drugs, and imitable behavior. They are all, which is appropriate for all ages, PG 12, which have some inappropriate parts, but it does not disturb character building, PG 15, which incorporates some inappropriate scenes, but kids are old kids over the age of 15 are old enough to understand that through acquired knowledge and experience to not imitate the behaviors. And R18, which is limited to people 18 and over. It's said to be difficult to understand the experience of youth, and it interferes with a person's ability to grow healthily. Finally, in conclusion, the South Korean film industry has faced its share of trials and tribulations, as we saw by the restrictions of governmental control throughout its long-standing history. However, due to its persistence and determination, its talents have been recognized globally, especially seeing the global phenomena of Parasite, Train to Busan, and Squid Games, which has been recognized at huge film festivals like Cannes, helped it boost its international recognition, leading big companies like Netflix to invest over $2 billion into Korean media. Thank you.